All right. Let's get into our fake news. We have been BSing for about an hour now, so let's get right into the news. So it's 10:59 a.m. and it is April 4th, 2019, and this is our today's episode of fake news. Bada bing, bada boom, baby. Where is our fake news? Here we go. All right, so we're actually going to start today with something that caught my attention that was not good news. Now it might not be that important to some people, maybe if you're not a Braves fan, and I wasn't a Braves fan either. But Bobby Cox, I saw this and I was like, man, Bobby Cox. Um, so the Hall of Fame ex Braves skipper Cox is in the hospital. So Hall of Fame manager Bobby Cox was able to accept visitors in his Atlanta area hospital room on Wednesday, one day after the longtime Braves skipper suffered an apparent stroke. So I have fond memories of Bobby Cox. He was the manager for the Atlanta Braves during a time with the Marlins that was a kind of an up and down period for the Marlins, but they did experience some success, and there was some great rivalries between the two of them. And so, I saw this and I was like, man, but so Bobby Cox led the Braves to 14 straight division titles from 1991 to 2005 and the 1995 World Series title. And so anyway, but he did have a stroke, and so I just wanted to share that with you. I know we got a lot of old timers here, so you might be familiar with him. I believe it was earlier this week, or yeah, it was earlier this week. I think it might have been on Monday, that we talked about the city of New York City instituting something called congestion pricing. And it was rather interesting, but basically, general commuters I think are gonna have to pay 11.50 to go into Manhattan, and anybody that's there for work or work vehicles will have to pay $25. And so I was like, oh, like it's interesting that they're doing something like this. Obviously, New York City's having some serious financial issues right now. But then, as always, with government, you find out the truth. And so Uber spent $2 million to help push through congestion pricing. And so I'm not going to read the whole article, but um, so interestingly enough, Uber had a dog in that fight. And so fewer cars on the road speeds up Uber rides, and motorists who give up their cars completely might end up as the company's customers. And so here you go, gang. Hopefully this ends up being a good thing for the citizens of New York City, but this actually is a bit of a concern potentially anyway, potentially. And so, like I said, hopefully it ends up not being a bad thing for the citizens of New York, because it does appear that there might have been a bit of a backroom deal here as well. Anyway, so that was just related to the story that we covered on Monday. Stephen A. Smith poised to become the richest talent in ESPN history. The bottom line is, it appears that he will be making about $10 million per year. They have not started his contract negotiation, but they are posturing for that already. By comparison, Mike Greenberg is paid 6.5 million to host Get Up, and so you can kind of see it's a pretty big difference. But so they say the consensus is going to be $8 to $10 million, and so he still has 2 years on his contract, and but they may negotiate that earlier to lock him in, and because apparently there are some other outlets that are interested in scooping up Stephen A. Smith. So there you have it. It does appear like something's happening there. Also, PB sent me this story. The Division Two players are stumped by a secret bunker with ties to Britain and the CIA. Tom Clancy's The Division 2 is a remarkably dense game. I spent 50 hours on the main campaign and felt like I could have spent much more exploring all the nooks and crannies before the start of its endgame. But inside Ubisoft's realistic interpretation of Washington are a handful of secret missions. One in particular is giving the community fits. In Washington, all roads lead to the White House, the seat of our nation's executive branch. Literally, the city's main arterial roads terminate at that building. In the Division 2, that means at times the map feels a bit like a big circle. Players start out in the center before being pushed out into the 2 o'clock position to go exploring. By the time you've reached 7 o'clock on the dial, you're in some pretty serious engagements with the Outcasts, a faction with unsettling backstory and a penchant for fighting firearms with actual fire. It's that area of the map called Foggy Bottom where I found myself late one night. Pressed between 23rd Street Northwest and the Potomac Freeway is a tiny drive that winds its way uphill to the northwest. Once I reached the top, I found an open door and inside an entrance to the city's underground. I'm in love with the tunnels that Ubisoft has built into the guts of the capital, mostly for the weirdly silent faction that lurks there, waiting to ambush unwary agents. But rather than a miles long stretch of damp tubes, this bit is only a few meters long. Inside is a non player character named Jane Applegate. The way she talks sounds like we've met each other before. Apropos of nothing, Applegate assigns me to run down a weird radio transmission emanating from Navy Hill nearby. Sure enough, a tiny blue pentagon appears on my map. The secret mission itself is short, incredibly thematic, and a genuine delight. I won't spoil it here, but suffice it to say that it includes assets and in-game resources that I haven't seen used anywhere else in the game. If you can get yourself there in one piece, it's worth the visit. But once I completed it, there's a second mission that opens up, and it's the mission that has players confused. Once you've completed running down the Navy Hill transmission, another secret mission appears on the map just a little ways to the north. It's called the G. Phillips Protocol, and unlike every other mission marker in the game, it's marked with a little blue icon shaped like a winged sword. Once you arrive, there's a long hallway and then a stairway leading down into a modern-day unfinished basement. Then the icon disappears. That's it. The mission ends. Or does it? Over on Reddit, players have been beating their heads against this cryptic outcome for weeks, now without much luck. Why would the developers put such an unusual icon into the game if there wasn't more to this particular quest than an empty basement? Conjecture on the thread begins with Navy Hill transmission, which leads players into an abandoned bunker thought to belong to the Office of Strategic Services, also known as the OSS. Inside is a replica of the Resolute desk, a gift to President Rutherford B. Hayes from Great Britain, Britain's Queen Victoria. There's also a few maps of DC, once described as being dated to 1945, and the other visible on one wall, dating to 1909. The G. Phillips Protocol mission that follows also has ties to Great Britain. That weird map marker of a winged sword is a dead ringer for the logo of the Special Air Service, the SAS. So there's this whole thing going on. There's this whole thing going on with this special mission, and people have not been able to figure it out. So I wanted to share this with you. Like I said, PB shared it with me, and I thought maybe this would be something that y'all could check out. Why is this news? Why would Battlestate Games build an entire village in the swamp of Shoreline with 2 loot points? Unfinished games has unfinished shit. I don't think so. It's not that impressive, the mission. Right. The point is that there's something behind that suspense, is what people are thinking. No problem, DJ Kono. My pleasure, man. Anyway, so that's that. And then, of course, I wanted to share this with you. So there's a good chance Borderlands 3 will have cross-platform co-op. So this is actually really, really cool. And so some of the prevailing thought is that part of the reason why they're going with an Epic exclusive for the first 6 months has something to do with the fact that Epic Games has been pioneering co-op play. The second mission is interesting in the fact of what happens, but the first mission isn't that impressive. Well, the thing, right, I think the point suspense is that you can't get to the second one if you don't do the first one. Maybe use your head next time, suspense. Mars Bar, what's up, man? It's from the government, U.S. and U.K. taking over the world. But so anyway, somebody from Borderlands did tweet out that that was part of their intention, and so just let's just bring back the Bitcoin emote. But anyway, so yeah, so I was excited about this. I thought this was big news. At the very least, it looks like it's gonna be Xbox and PC together, which I think is really cool. Yeah, I'm on board. So I thought that would be really cool, and I hope that it ends up being all platforms like Fortnite. That would be excellent. But anyway, so that's our fake news for the day. I kind of kept it brief today, but I thought that all those stories had, some kind of impact, and I felt that those were good to share with y'all. Hopefully, you enjoyed it as always, and I hope you'll tune in every morning for our fake news segment as well.